Desai, madam. Now we
Yes,
can
sir.
start.
Yes, sir. So, Dr. Santosh Koti, sir, please join, sir. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Good morning to all. I welcome you all for one-day national webinar on critical approaches to the text organized by Department of English of BLD Association, Srimati Bangaramma Sajjan, Arts, Commerce and Science College for Women, Vijaypur. I, Husna Desai, take this opportunity to host the program. It is a matter of honor. Today we have Dr. Sujauddin Chaparban sir from Central University, Gujarat as a keynote speaker and Dr. Santosh Koti sir, principal of Walchand College, Sholapur as a resource person. To begin this session, I would like to call Shri P.S. Tonur, HOD and convener of today's webinar. Sir, over to you, sir.
Yes, thank you, madam. I am audible. Am I audible? Okay. Good morning to everyone.
Please continue.
Yes. Good morning to everyone. Respected President, esteemed keynote speakers, distinguished resource persons, faculty members, dear participants, research scholars, and my dear students. It is with great pleasure and sense of privilege that I, Sri P.S. Tonur, Head of the Department of English, BLD Associations, Srimati Bangaramma Sajjan, Arts, Commerce and Science College for Women, Vijaypur, and convener of today's webinar. I extend a warm welcome to each one of you today's webinar on critical approaches to the literary text, organized under IQSC initiative by Department of English in collaboration with Alumni Association of our college. We are privileged to have with us eminent speaker who will share their insights on this crucial topic. I extend my heartfelt welcome to them and to all the participants. At the very outset, I would like to extend our warmest welcome to the keynote speaker of today's webinar, Dr. Sajauddin Chaparban sir, an esteemed academician and assistant professor at the Central University of Gujarat, Kundela and Odara. His vast expertise in diasporic studies will undoubtedly enrich our understanding who have joined us today to engage in this meaningful discussion. Once again, I am honored to welcome you, sir, on behalf of my institution, my department, and on my own behalf. I am welcome you, sir. We are also privileged to have Dr. Santosh Koti, Principal of Walchand College of Arts Science, Solapur, Maharashtra, as our resource person. His deep insights and knowledge of criticism will greatly contribute to today's discourse, sir. Sir, on behalf of my institution, on my own behalf, I welcome you, sir. I extend a warm welcome to respected Principal Dr. Vaitamanna for his continuous guidance and encouragement in fostering the academic excellence. Once again, I welcome you, sir. I warmly welcome to our IQSC coordinator, Dr. Bhakti Mahendrakar, madam, for her support and help. I also welcome to co-convener of this national webinar and coordinator of English Language Lab, Srimati Husna S. Desai. I welcome you, madam. I extend a warm welcome to organizing secretary. I extend my warm welcome to organizing secretary and our college, Sri Prabhuling Gunjatti. I welcome you, sir. I heartily welcome to Sri Sulaiman Atarkiyar, faculty of Department of Economics and technical assistant of today's webinar. I also welcome Sri Tausif Ahmad Bhagwan, faculty, Department of English. Welcome you, sir. Last but not least, I heartily welcome to all the participants for today's webinar. Wishing you all an enriching and fruitful webinar ahead. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you once again. Thank you one and all.
Yes, thank you, sir, for welcoming on this occasion. Now, I would like to call Mr. Prabhuling Gunjeti, Organizing Secretary of today's webinar and Faculty of English, to give a brief account of the webinar. Sir, please, over to you.
Thank you, madam. Good morning to everyone. I, Prabhuling Gunjeti, Faculty, Department of English, welcome you all to the webinar on critical approaches to the literary text. It is my great and honor to give introductory speech on given topic of the webinar. So, literary criticism is the lens through which we interpret and understand text, shaping our perspectives on literature, culture, and society. Today, we will explore diverse critical frameworks ranging of traditional approaches to the formalism, structuralism, and contemporary theories such as feminism, postcolonialism, and also eco-criticism. Each of these perspectives opens new dimensions of meaning, allowing us to appreciate text behind their surface narratives. Our distinguished speakers, Dr. Sajauddin Chaparban sir, and also Dr. Santosh Koti sir, bring with them a wealth of knowledge and expertise in literary studies. Their insights will definitely help us to navigate the complexities of the textual interpretations and deepen our appreciation of the literature as a dynamic and evolving fields. I encourage all participants to actively engage until the session ends, ask questions, and make the most of the academic discourses. Together, let us broaden our understanding and sharpen our critical thinking skills. Let us embark on this intellectual journey with enthusiasm and curiosity. Thank you, our Honorable Principal Sir, our HOD Professor Tonu Sir, and Professor Desai Ma'am, and all the participants from various regions, from being with us in this August gathering. Thanks to organizing team for giving me a chance to share my views on this webinar. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Prabhu sir, for introductory speech. Now, I would like to start the first session. It's my honor to introduce today's keynote speaker. Dr. Sajauddin Nizamuddin Chaparban is a distinguished academician whose contributions span across diasporic studies, comparative literature, and cultural theory. His work explores the complexities of identity, migration, marginalization, particularly focusing on Muslim diasporic writings and South Asian communities. Sir is an alumnus of the Center for Comparative Culture Literature at the University of Hyderabad, where he completed his doctoral research under the esteemed guidance of Professor Bimia. His dissertation titled Muslim Diasporic Writing, Issue and Challenges to Identities in Select Fiction after 9 September 2011, dwelled into a profound shifts in Muslim identities. Sir is currently serving as an assistant professor in the Center for Diasporic Studies at the Central University of Gujarat, Kundela, Vadodara, India. His role involves both teaching and research with a focus on the intricate intersection between culture, migration, and identity in transnational context. His teaching includes South Asian history, comparative diaspora studies, contemporary English literature, and cultural theory. Sir's academic journey is marked by numerous international fellowships and academic collaboration. Dr. Sajauddin's research is deeply rooted in diaspora studies, migration, and identity formation. His interests include push factors of international migration, impact of migration on South Asian societies, cultural identities and marginalities in transnational spaces, contemporary issues like Islamophobia, citizenship, nationalism, and the refugee crisis, especially concerning South Asian and Muslim communities in the West. Sir has made significant contribution to literature and diaspora studies through his books, journals, articles, and edited volumes. Gender, Culture, and Identity of South Asian Diaspora Literature is one of the book. The Muslim Writer's Back, which is related to Islamophobia and resistance in the South Asian diaspora novel. Third, Literature of Girmiti, which has history, culture, and identity, edited in 2023. Sir is currently serving as a series editor with Professor Razan for the book project titled Global Indian Diasporas in the 21st Century, Interdisciplinary Perspectives, which is set to produce 10 books published by Routledge. He is also editing The Global Refugee Crisis, Identity, Statelessness, and Rohingyas in Camps, which will be published by Routledge. Sir has presented research papers at various national and international conferences and has actively participated in academic workshops, summer schools, training programs worldwide. He has delivered 130 lectures in various academic capacities across countries like India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Germany, Poland, Austria, Italy, Sweden, Turkey, Iraq, the USA, UK, Israel, Palestine, Indonesia, Azerbaijan, and many more. This extensive global outreach reflects his prominence as an intellectual leader in diaspora and migration studies. Sir's academic excellence has been recognized through numerous prestigious national and international awards and fellowships, including Professor B.M. Khedkar Award in 2009, Maulana Azad National Fellowship from 2011 to 2016, Werner Grain Foundation and ASA Fellowship in 2018, University of Illinois Library Research Award in 2022, Young Alumnus of Honor in 2023, Visiting Fellowship in 2024, Travel Grant for Genocide Studies in 2024. In addition to this, Dr. Sajauddin has received various other fellowships, including the Family Summer Fellowship for Genocide Studies and Prevention at the University of Connecticut and Women in Public Life Fellowship from the American Heritage Center, University of Lyon. Dr. Sajauddin has been invited presently to participate in the 7th Advanced School in the Humanities and Historical Formation of Spatial Knowledge at the Israel Institute for the Advanced Studies, Hebrew University, Jerusalem. Sir has also been selected from the Summer Institute for Israel Studies at Brandeis University, USA in July 2025. With this brief introduction, I warmly welcome you, sir, for today's webinar. We are honored to have you with us to share your valuable insight with us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, madam. It was a very extensive introduction, and I am indeed honored to be here. First of all, a very warm good morning to all of you, respected Principal, Professor Tamanna sir, Head of the Department, Professor Tola sir, and of course, respected Madam, Professor Desai, and my dear senior colleague, Dr. Santosh Koti sir, and of course, the other colleagues of the department, Dr. Gunjeti, Dr. Tausif, and all esteemed colleagues and participants. It's indeed my honor and privilege to be here to present a keynote address. I was discussing with Professor Desai that what we should speak when we are planning a webinar on literary and critical theory in the contemporary context. So, of course, I had the exposure of working in this field from last almost 15 years. So I said, why not introduce our students with one of the new sections that is still emerging in the contemporary literary and critical theory, that is diaspora studies as an interdisciplinary field of inquiry. Because today NEP is also talking about multidisciplinarity, interdisciplinarity, but subjects like comparative literature, diaspora studies, cultural studies are already into multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary field. So this could be regenerating and introducing a new dimension to our understanding of critical theory. So we thought, let us discuss diaspora as a approach to the text. So we titled the talk of today as a diasporic approach to the literary text. So diaspora as a text, diaspora as a subject, diaspora as a term, diaspora as a phenomena, diaspora as an approach, diaspora as a theory, diaspora as a discipline. how this particular word, particular concept has emerged as a entire discipline along with theoretical approach that we thought we will discuss. Madam, can I present PPT?
Yes, sir, you can present, sir. You can present.
Yeah, thank you. So I need to upload the files, right?
Yeah, sir. There are two options. One you can upload. Another one is you can share your screen, sir.
How to share the screen?
Just click on present, sir.
I click
Last
on
option
present,
is there.
then video file.
Last option is there, sir.
Share screen. Okay. Yeah. Share screen. Okay. Entire screen, right?
Entire screen.
Yeah. Also share system audio, sir?
Yeah, sir. Yeah, you can share.
Yeah, I am sharing now. Are you able to see this, sir? Okay, I think it's fine now.
Yeah, sir. It's visible, sir.
Is it visible now? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. There is, I think it's being uploaded.
Yes.
Is it fine now?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Is it visible, sir?
Yes, sir. Visible.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and sorry for the inconvenience. So when we were discussing about the topic, so we thought let us discuss about diaspora as a approach to the text, and how diaspora has emerged as a term, starting from term to a theory and then interdisciplinary framework, and as a discipline across humanities and social sciences. And let me also tell you that it's interdisciplinary because there are so many ideas and concepts which are borrowed from humanities as well as social sciences too. And therefore, when we say diaspora, so it's not just a literature, but it's also about, it has a relevance in other disciplines like sociology, history, political science, international relation, economics, and so many things are being involved in the diaspora study. So to understand the diaspora, we need to know diaspora from the other perspective too. And see, it's a very interesting thing, it's a term, it's a theory, and it's a discipline in itself. And discipline, not just we can study from the lens of literature, but also from culture and other social sciences disciplines, including economy. So when we are applying diaspora as a theoretical framework, then we are trying to say that it's a conceptual framework explaining the migration and identity formation. And when we apply this to a text, any text for that matter, whether it's a literary text, whether it's a film as a text, or other aspect of the text, you can apply diaspora as an approach to that text. You read that text and try to evaluate through the lens of diaspora. So it's an interesting field when you try to engage critically with diaspora while reading the text. But while going through this, you will have a bit of confusion or theoretical or methodological challenge. This is most important thing when we try to engage with diaspora as a theory, diaspora as an approach. So when we talk about diaspora as a theory, so it explains migration and nationalism, whereas diaspora as an approach uses the diaspora as a lens to apply this to any text, history, or literature, or society. And then here is a comparison, and in the context of diaspora as a theory, we talk about diaspora which develops a conceptual framework about hybridity, flexible citizenship, etc. It also talks about a group of people. But whereas when we apply it as an approach, then we look at through this lens case study of a specific text or a community. Then while dealing with this, where do we contextualize this idea of diaspora within the contemporary literary and cultural theory? So often people say that it's a post-colonial phenomena dealing with identity, belonging, hybridity, globalization, transnationalism, intersectionality, minority studies, citizenship, and not many things like memory studies, etc. But then it is also beyond this. It's also beyond this in terms of, looking at the history, looking at the social dimension, looking at the political dimension of this, including biopolitics and whatnot. And so it's a vast discipline. It has, enormous potential to study through the diverse lens when we are studying diaspora or applying this as an approach to a text. Why did I say it's an interdisciplinary approach? And moreover, we need to know what is interdisciplinarity. And why do we need this today? Why NEP is talking about this? Why everyone is talking about this? Why we have disciplines like diaspora as an emerging interdisciplinary disciplines? Because if we look at the approaches or theories in humanities as well as in social sciences, or even the literary and cultural theories, were not adequate enough to comprehend and describe the complexities of the contemporary patterns of global human condition and migration that have been emerged due to transnational mobility, national mobility, advancement in ICT, and also the globalization, which has compressed time and space. So the new global human condition started emerging. But do we have adequate framework within the existing departments like geography, sociology, literature, English department, and or other language departments, including economics, etc.? We did not have the proper framework to study the transactions that are taking place across the social, political, economic, literary landscapes. Therefore, we needed this interdisciplinary approach to comprehend this new formulation that are taking place in transnational spaces. Therefore, we have the diaspora studies. And before we go into some of the particular characteristics of diaspora which can be useful while analyzing text, I would like to tell you some basics about the diaspora as a theory and approach, and how it's interrelated with the idea of migration, particularly the human migration we are talking about. And methodologically, this is very important, how to and from where to distance from the idea of migration and diaspora. Because we all are migrant today. Everybody is a migrant. Let me tell you, we all are migrant at one point of time in our life. Then we settled. For example, today I'm a migrant from Maharashtra to Gujarat, and many of you must be migrant, even if you are migrating from one small town to another small town. even small, from your home to your workplace. So migration has diverse categories, and human migration is one of the essential phenomena, and it is one of the basic of diaspora. If there is no migration, then there is no diaspora. If there is no migration and there is no progress, let me also tell you. So therefore, human migration is integral part of our development processes. Therefore, if you look at the recent data on the internal and international migration is massive. Millions of people are migrating. I think out of 10 people, 7 people are internally migrant. And there is 3 to 4% people are internationally migrant. And if you talk about Indian diaspora, both NRIs and PIOs, it's a 35 million diaspora according to recent report of Ministry of External Affairs in 2024. So migration is accelerating. It's going massively because of the advancement of information and technology, because of the growing network, because of the opportunities. Migration always, come up with the opportunities out of comparatively better opportunities. If I have a job and if I am getting the better job, so I'll move. If I am studying here, I am getting the better studying opportunity, I will, or somebody will move. So there are numerous push and pull factors why one migrates, and one of the reasons of migration is opportunities and the crisis. There are numerous crises across the globe, including the environmental crisis. So these are one of the reasons which contribute to the processes of migration. And another important thing why this particular discipline called diaspora is getting attracted among the scholars like us, the academicians like us, the politicians like the present government of our nation, starting from Prime Minister Vajpayee to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and also the previous prime ministers, and also the state governments are also keen into diaspora studies. I should tell you one of the important reasons why the governments are also interested. We are interested because we find there are numerous themes, like, for example, after the partition, you see, if you look at the themes in Indian literary tradition, so we had a oral literature, we had a classical literature, we had colonial literature, then the post-colonial literature, then the partition literature comes, then within post-colonial you have different themes, then the diaspora also emerge. So diaspora has given a new understanding to our and new subjects for us to study. But what about for the governments? It has given the government to engage diaspora because there are huge remittances. The money is coming to countries in the global south and of course the Indian states. And Kerala is, one of the topmost states in the receiving remittances from the migrants globally. So government, and according to the data, if you look at the data, huge remittances are flowing, and last year in 2024, India received 129 billion US dollar. 129 billion. I'm not talking about rupees, I'm talking about dollar, which is a huge share in our 3 to 4% GDP of our entire nation. So therefore, the governments are interested to engage and facilitate the migration. And apart from the remittances, we have political support, soft power, cultural ambassador investment, bilateral relation, socio-cultural engagement, and the representation of India and its image in abroad, and of course literary texts that we are going to discuss in our last portion of our discussion, that how the diaspora is becoming important across, and it's a multi-dimensional role. I just wanted to highlight, and I will skip couple of things and I'll come to some important questions like migration and diaspora, how to distinguish from these two things. Just a minute. I think I should put it somewhere here. Yeah. How migration and diaspora are interlinked, because as I mentioned earlier, there cannot be diaspora without migration, and but there can be migration without diaspora. So although the migration has a close link with diaspora, but in one of my articles on the psychology of diaspora, I tried to distinguish between these two phenomena. Therefore, there could be a migration without diaspora, but there cannot be diaspora without migration. And all diaspora can be migrant, but not all migrant can be diaspora. Reason being, if I'm a migrant from, let us say, from Gulbarga to Vijapur, I'm a migrant, but I may not be a diasporic. But if I migrate from Vijapur to distant places, for example, Dubai or New York, including Srinagar or Trivandrum or the other places. So now here you might get confused why I am talking about the Indian cities too. Reason being, this is very crucial. This is very methodological that I want you to understand this. Whenever there is a change in not just a geographical boundary, but importantly the socio-cultural boundary of the host society, then there gets the formulation of diaspora. Some scholars argue that one has to cross the international border to be called as a diaspora, but I would argue that it is not the only criterion. Because, for example, if a person migrates from, let us say, Saudi Arabia to Qatar, though he is crossing the international border, but his language, his or her language is same, culture is same, people are same, ethnicity, race, religion, identity, food, a lot many things are same. So, but if his and these things don't push him to feel disrooted, to feel distance, to feel nostalgic, to feel he just feel as at home as he feels in any other place in the any other country. Excuse me, there is a power cut, but I'll continue. I hope I'm audible, right?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah. So to be a diasporic, one of the criterion is to be in the different socio-cultural setting. Then the moment the socio-cultural setting changes, if one's language, culture, religion, people, food, and etc. changes, then there gets a very unique experiences are being experienced, and the diaspora is started getting formulated. And this happened mostly in the distance migratory patterns, mostly in the transnational migrations, international migratory spaces. Therefore, some scholars do argue with this, and only understood that diaspora should be defined when there is a crossing of international border. But I gave you this example to say that it is not only the criterion, it is also about the change in socio-cultural setting of people. There are numerous scholars like Robin Cohen, Judith Schawel, and Stephen Verto who talk about what is diaspora. So traditionally, diaspora signified a collective trauma, banishment, where one dream of home but live in exile. Other people abroad who have also maintained strong collective identities have, in recent years, defined themselves as a diaspora, though they were neither active agent of colonization nor passive victim of persecution. This is one of the important definitions that Robin Cohen has given. There are numerous other definitions too that you can read, but I wanted to tell you this definition because the first part of this definition talks about the classical pattern of diaspora, and the second part of the definition, other people abroad. That means people like us. I was in the Israel yesterday. I mean, last few days. So, who was I? Was I just a migrant or a diasporic? Although I did not settle there, although I had no experience of banishment, trauma, and so on, so I did not live in exile, but I had few experiences which can be defined as a diasporic. Although I went voluntarily, yeah, that's the important part. So if you look at the contemporary pattern of migration, earlier, including the colonial migration from India, if you read the text of V.S. Naipaul, so what happens, you get to know some experiences of people who migrated earlier and there was a traumatic or bonding or bondage labor kind of thing, the indenture labor, it is called the indenture labor system. That kind of pattern you would find. But today, migration from India is having a different patterns, and not only just from India, but across the world. They are voluntarily migrating for study, for a job, and lot many other things. So what's important here is to understand how these voluntary migrants are also being called as a diaspora. So I'll come to that point. So the earlier characteristics given by Robin Cohen and William Safran were, one of those characteristics was that they, means the migrant people and their ancestors, have been dispersed from one specific original center to more and peripheral and foreign regions. From original center to different places. Now, if you talk about the 21st century diaspora, in another slide I will be talking about. So let us just understand it now, what diaspora is in its basic sense, and then how in the contemporary was that they retain a collective memory, vision, and myth about their homeland. It's a physical location, history, and achievement. They believe that they are not and perhaps cannot be fully accepted by the host society, therefore feel partly alienated and insulted. They regard their ancestral homeland as their true ideal and as the place to which they or their descendants would and should eventually return when the conditions are appropriate. They believe that they should collectively be committed to maintenance and restoration of their original homeland, and they continue to relate personally or vicariously to that homeland in one way or another way, and their ethno-communal consciousness and solidarity are importantly defined by the existence of such relationship. So this is what when the diaspora as a discipline, diaspora as a theory, diaspora as an approach was coming up. So people like Cohen, people like Safran started, characterize diaspora. But following some of the traits of this theory, there are also addition to the contemporary pattern of diaspora. And one of the definitions that and one of the methodological challenges of this theoretical approach is that it is still, diaspora itself is in its stage of formulation. People are still talking about diasporas, still defining it, and therefore you should not be surprised and you should not be nervous if you do not find the theme in the text. If you are reading a most recent text, for example, Deepak Unnikrishnan's Temporary People. But in this text, you have, this text talks about the experiences of Indians in the Gulf countries, Indian migrants in the Gulf country. But then you find some of the characteristics that I have, that Professor Robin Cohen and Willem Safran have talked about, and you will find some another similar traits in this text as well. But what about the text like Sajjad Zahi's A Night in London? It's a Urdu text about a person who goes to England for study. So while reading this text, you will not find sometimes the experiences that the indentured laborers have had and other people who went to the different countries and settled there. And for example, one of the recent novels like The Reluctant Fundamentalist by Mohsin Hamid. In this novel, you find that the character named Changiz, he goes to New York and settle there, live a wonderful life, and he got a scholarship, and he enjoyed life like anything, and he did not feel that he is in a different setting. But all of a sudden, what happened? The 9/11 happens, and his identity as a Muslim, as a migrant, as a South Asian, as a colored person came out, and therefore he fits into the third point of our discussion, that they or he, Changiz, is not and perhaps cannot be fully accepted by the American host society. Therefore, what is important here to understand that you need to read beyond the theories too. For example, what if you don't find the themes that we discuss in the within the framework of diaspora studies, and you don't find it in the text, or you are reading a text and you don't find in the theoretical framework? So you don't need to worry about. Therefore, your reading your critical bent of understanding should be going beyond the theory. Of course, getting the help of theory to understand the phenomena, to understand the text, but also looking in between the lines, in between the text, what is not yet explored. And human experience, why I am saying going beyond the literary theory or cultural theory or any theory for that matter, because human experiences are beyond these frameworks. Yes, it helped in some way to understand the experience to that level, but then human experiences are evolving in itself. Today, we are talking about the human experiences while crossing the transnational border, while crossing the national border, while crossing the geographical, social, cultural border. Tomorrow, probably we will talk about, or some of our students would discuss about the experience of crossing the planets. There is a possibility. So we need to go beyond when we are reading a text through any theoretical, understanding. Just a minute. There is a call. Can I receive a call? Just a minute. Excuse me. Yeah, I think it's fine. I can talk to them later. So I was talking about, sorry for the distraction. I was talking about how the diaspora is getting formulated, how human experiences are beyond theories. Yes, theories do help us to understand our experiences, the text, the socio-cultural productions, etc. But there are the possibilities wherein we need to think beyond these frameworks, which help us to develop your own critical bent of understanding and your critical engagement with any of the text as such. So diaspora gets formulated when the migration takes place. And to which place? Not every place, but a place, be it from form of migration from temporary to permanent, internal to international, and it gets formulated if a person migrates from one socio-cultural setting to another socio-cultural setting which is different from the previous one. This is one of the important definitions of diaspora when we talk about diaspora. And socio-cultural setting refers to the familiarities of culture, place, people, food, your spaces, the spatiality, how the spaces are being created with all kind of mass, temple, gurudwara, everyday life, etc. And of course, the food, culture, language, religion, dress, rituals, social practices, identities, etc. When you are familiar to this, when you are accustomed to these familiar things, and when you are migrating from these things to these familiar things to new things, new family, new socio-cultural setting, then what happens? You start missing. There comes the idea of memory. There comes the idea of longing and belonging. Then there comes the idea of getting adjusted into the new socio-cultural setting. That is the assimilation or the hybridization of your own identity. So diaspora is also about the post-migration. So migration has taken place into another socio-cultural setting, and then the diasporic sensibilities or diasporic formulations started. It's also about disrooting and distancing of an individual or a group of people from one socio-cultural setting to another socio-cultural setting, lead to post-migration feelings which gradually build a diasporic sense, such as building of community identity, solidarity, collective consciousness, and other things like food, culture, etc. And since they are disrooted, so what do? They try to establish those things home away from home when they are into different socio-cultural setting. But if they are into same socio-cultural setting, despite of crossing the international border, they don't have to worry about, they don't have to, they don't feel disrooted, they don't feel distance from their idea of home. And I gave the example of a person from Saudi migrating Qatar, or Qatari is migrating Saudi Arabia, or for that matter, but if he is migrating from Saudi to, or Indian migrating from India to another distance places like Vancouver and New York, Sydney, etc. So the moment the socio-cultural setting is changing, then the diasporic sensibilities, diasporic formulations are starting to taking place. I will skip this part about the historiography of diaspora, how it started from Greek word to the as a concept and as a discipline, and how it is being used in a different context. I'll come to this part, how diaspora is also a phenomenon. It's a condition, it's a state of living, it's an experience. It's also about psychology. How do you understand how you are being understood by the host society and the host society? What kind of changes the memory, belonging, the identities, transactions are being taking place at psychological level along with the social level. It's so therefore it's also about the psychology, it's about memory, it's about the life that you live in dual pattern. You are both Indian and American, or wherever you are. If you are a migrant, then you try to create home away from home. Then you think of coming back, but you cannot come back. You miss your route, or you try to reroute your route in the host society. Then, of course, different identities that intersect in the transnational space. Now, this is another important point that I wanted to share with you, that how do we understand diaspora in 21st century? So in this previous slide, we talk about, in the Robin Cohen slide, we talk about from one place to different place. But in 21st century, if you see the diaspora, it is also, these things are not yet explored and brought into the literary text. So if you happen to come across literary text which talks about the multipolarity and diversities, of course diversities in diaspora you may come across, but multipolarity of origin you don't find still. But there are some of the there are some literature in the social sciences wherein we talk about an Indian migrating from India to, let us say, East Africa, living their handsome life. Their next generation is starting, and from there they are moving to UK and Canada and Australia, USA. So now, which is their homeland? It's not their one homeland. Their homeland is India, and their children's homeland is East Africa, let us say Tanzania. And their ancestral homeland is still India. So how do these, idea of home is being divided? How the idea of, ancestral land is being, motherland is being divided. So there is the multipolarity of the dispersion and collective memory. It's a diverse. It's not just one way of, looking at things, but there are diversities within the diasporic groups. For example, there is a caste-based diaspora, there is a religion-based diaspora, there are linguistic-based diaspora, of course, national diasporas. Within the national diaspora, you have all these kind of, pattern in the contemporary pattern of global human mobility. Then the idea of homeland, they are loyal to not just the homeland, but also to the host land. People like Rishi Sunak, people like the Prime Minister of our Indian origin in UK, the former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, and so and so people, they are loyal to both their homeland. For them, UK is the homeland. But we also say that, no, he is also part of India. Therefore, so their loyalty is both towards, and sometimes primary towards, their host land than the homeland. So in the 21st century, the loyalties are stretched and they are divided, and they are also polarized. The idea of belonging in the classical context of diaspora, people wanted to return to India, and they did return, some of them, but some of them, they don't return. They want to settle there, but they do want to, in the 21st century, want to engage with the homeland in terms of investment, in terms of getting socialized with the people that they left behind, and doing philanthropic work, doing some charity, and so on, so things. Lot many other patterns of engagement. So there is no idea of return in the contemporary pattern of 21st century diaspora, but then there is alternate to return, they are engaged. Yeah. Often, yeah. And the idea of acceptability. In this, we gave the example of Mohsin Hamid's Reluctant Fundamentalist, wherein the idea of, acceptance, my diaspora feel alienated in the hostland and they are partially accepted, but there are some examples like they are fully accepted. And I gave the example of your former Prime Minister of United Kingdom, that's Rishi Sunak, and many other Indians in the Caribbean. For example, Irfan Ali, who was one of the guests at Pravasi Bharati Divas in India, and Jagannath from Mauritius, the Prime Minister of Mauritius, and the Irfan Ali from one of the Caribbean countries. So what I mean to say is that there is acceptance too, not to the early diaspora, but to this contemporary diaspora, which is second and third generation of India, and they are leading the global political platforms. Now coming back to this important idea of socio-cultural setting, which is heterogeneous. Within diasporic community, you have diverse community on the base of class, caste, religion, gender, ethnicity, etc. Why I am telling you all these things? Because when you are reading a text, and when you are reading it, so these things will help you to understand and find these themes in the text and apply this diasporic framework to any text that you are reading today. And I believe, and I think Dr. Santosh will agree with me, and of course Professor Hosanna will also agree, being a professors of English department, that most of the literature today we find in English language is about international migrants. So you find different themes there. You find, and there is no award starting from Nobel to Booker's and so on, so which diasporic writers have not bagged. They have bagged almost every award. So what I mean to say is that the diaspora literature is dominating the literary landscapes. Therefore, we need to understand the text very thoroughly. And these patterns, these discussions will definitely help you in understanding the complexities and the complex socio-cultural formulation that are reflected in the literary texts. So among the diaspora, there are various layers of diversities. So it's not just, when we say Indian diaspora, it's not just a homogeneous. It's like a salad bowl. It's like a, different people coming together and formulating Indian diaspora identity. But within Indian diaspora, you have Punjabi, you have Gujarati, you have Kannada, you have Marathi, you have Tamil, etc. On the line of language, on the line of religion, Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, etc. In terms of caste, upper caste, lower caste. In terms of gender, you have LGBTQ diaspora as well. So how sectarian identities and marginal, and how those are being marginalized in the homeland, and those marginal spaces are pushing them for migration, and they are going into so-called the contact zone, so-called the transnational space. But within the transnational space, they thought that they will get a nice freedom, but within that they get further marginalized, being migrant, and all those intersecting identities are also coming in. So what I mean to say is that we need to read the text very closely by looking at the intersectionality in the transnational space, how those are formulating the transnational subalternities in the transnational space on the basis of gender, religion, ethnicity, race, etc. So I wanted to give some of the examples of caste-based diaspora, how caste is becoming an important discourse within the Indian diaspora studies, and of course the recent movie and the recent deportation of Indians from USA, the quote unquote illegal or unauthorized Indians in the USA, how they were being sent. I think most of you have watched this movie called Dunki by Rajkumar Hirani, and in this you find that how people are crazy to go abroad, putting their life at risk, putting their everything, whatever they had at home, at risk, and they want to go to these American dreams, British dream, and so on. So, and while how both legally and illegally, and this particular movie called Dunki talks about the recent people who were being deported from India, people like them, and how did they go, how they were struggling, and why did they go, how the human trafficking mafia also works in this. So there are numerous options. Talk about look, when you are exploring this diaspora, you just don't need to talk about the diaspora which is well acknowledged, or very white collar diaspora of H-1B visa holders, etc. But you should also talk about the themes which are not much explored. For example, the unauthorized migrants, like this, through texts like Dunki and others. So you can explore about this. So you can also talk about if you are interested into the idea of citizenship, how politics of citizenship is being shaping the experiences of migrants. I went to Israel few days back. I went to different countries, so my experience is different from those who go through other means of entrances to these places, and so my citizenship status, being Indian, going legally, will have a different experience. What about those? How will they live life, those who entered those countries illegally? So, and what about those who were granted citizenship? What about those who were not granted citizenship? So you can explore further about this. So I'll skip some of these slides because I think my time is up. Sorry for taking, but I wanted to show you that some of the history about Indian diaspora, and how this diasporic experience, literature started emerging from the 16th, 17th century. Travel literature, one of the earliest literature texts that were produced reflecting the experiences of people abroad include one of the earliest English literary text. I think Professor Santosh sir will agree with me, was that Sayyid Muhammad's travelogue from India. He was from Bihar, and therefore when we study the diaspora, it also gives us opportunity to look back, reread the text that we have read. For example, Raja Rao's Serpent and the Robe. We read it as one of the earliest texts by Trio, English Trio, but he was also a migrant to Italy or France, I guess. And the story of Serpent and the Robe reflects some of his autobiographical perspective and approach to reread the text that we have read till today, including these travelogues. Then how travelogues, that was the first phase of noting down the experiences of Indians in abroad. But then you had the literature by indentured diaspora, particularly Cyril Debedine and David Debedine, of course, Weber's Those That Be in Bondage, Edward Jenkins, Lashmi and Dillo are some of the texts which were written on the people who went during the colonial time to work in the Indian British plantations abroad. So here is some history about how did Indians started migrating to different parts of the British colonies. And there is a proper system. I don't want to talk about this because it will stretch into one or 2 hours. So I'll skip this part. Important part about the gender aspects, what and how women are negotiating these diasporic spaces when they join the migration with their husbands, with their father, with their family. So what kind of experiences did they have during the colonial time and the contemporary patterns of global human mobility? If you are interested in the gender part, you can also explore, and you would find different experiences based on gender, including the LGBTQs. So I will also skip this part because how the diaspora played an important role in India's freedom struggle. And one of the important texts of this time was Satyagraha in Africa by Mahatma Gandhi. He has written this book, and I tried to reread it recently. So you can also try to see how text can be reread when we are applying the diasporic perspective, because he was in Mahatma Gandhi was in the diaspora in the South Africa. So he fought for both the liberation of the Indians in South Africa as well as the Indians who were, he was also supporting the causes of India along with the South African from South Africa for the freedom of India, freedom struggle of India. So Indian diaspora is not just about the technology and economy, but it is also about the culture of India, which is spreading across the globe through the diaspora. And what they are doing when they are migrating to different places, they are the temples. This is a temple on the Ganga Talav of Mauritius, and also the mosque that they have built. This is in Port Louis, one of the earliest mosques built by Indians, and this is one of the earliest temples that the Indians have built in the Mauritius. So through the building of these kind of identities in the diaspora, they try to create home away from home, and they have named this lake as a Ganga Talav, like our similar to Ganga River of India. So this is how the diaspora in the different countries try to celebrate Holi, Dashara, Eid, everything, and they try to socialize themselves in diaspora. So you have different leaders, as I mentioned about the some of the important leaders who are leading the global political responsibilities, including Muhammad Irfan Ali and etc. So this is how this diaspora as a term, diaspora as a concept, diaspora as a theory, diaspora as a discipline, diaspora as an asset, a soft power, is attracting the interest of academicians and the politicians and the policymakers, and of course literature. With this, I think I should stop here. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. The floor is open for Q&A session. Thank you so much. Yeah. I hope I haven't taken much of your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your insights and inspiration. Sir, we have 2 questions here from the participants. Yes, the first one is, how has digital globalization reshaped the traditional notion of diaspora, displacement, and cultural identity in contemporary literatures?
Wonderful question.
Okay.
Yeah. See, should I respond?
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
Should I reply? Yeah. See, this is wonderful question. Reason being, this is how the global digital landscapes, the evolution of this, digitalization or the digital humanities or, digitalization of lot many things have shaped the diasporic experiences, diasporic representations, including connecting the diaspora, rather reconnecting the diaspora. How? Because of the digital devices, digital channels, because of the various. So, for example, there is a huge evolvement, the huge intervention, interference of digitalization in diaspora, including the online archives. People are doing online archives. There was a inauguration of Ram Janam Bhoomi, and those inaugurations were also reflected in the USA, UK, other places, where the people were not able to join this arti, so they join online. Similarly, there are numerous other events that are taking place, and not only just online arti, but also for reproducing, digitalizing their culture, their identities, and most of the Indian serials are also very famous in diaspora. It's surprising for you to know, and one of you can work on this, Indian serials in diaspora. I think so many other things are there, and this is how, and moreover, the social platforms like WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, these are the things which are helping the diaspora to reconnect and engage with not only with the dispersed community in the globalized space, but also to hostland as well and homeland as well. They are engaged within the diaspora and also with the motherland. So diaspora, digital spaces, digital devices, and digitalization is helping enormously, and shaping enormously the diasporic discourse. And I think if you are interested, you can go further into this research. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. One more question. How do authors use memory and storytelling to reconstruct home in diaspora literature?
Yeah. Memory is an important aspect for the diaspora, and especially because if you look at some of the earliest text, so you see that, for example, even this Jhumpa Lahiri's text, if you see, so wherein you find that she is missing something what she left behind in India. So memory play an important role in connecting to the homeland, and it also shapes the experiences of people. And memory of what? Memory of home, memory of people, and the what kind of memory? Is it contemporary memory or a memory that their ancestor had? So memory as a huge discourse plays an important role in shaping the diasporic narrative. Collective memory, But today, if you see the contemporary literature, you don't have the idea of collective memory, but there are individual memories. For example, during the colonial time, we had a collective memory of our collective struggle of Indian freedom struggle. Therefore, you find in the colonial time across Indian diaspora, in the East Asia as well as Africa, including Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose, and many other leaders, Gopal Ganesh Gokhale, who visited Gadar movement in America. So they have this collective memory of homeland as a India, and then they were, working for the, the freedom of India. So how do memory as a collective and memory as an individual context? You can talk about any of the examples wherein individual memory is playing important role. For example, the memory of Nazanin in the Brick Lane, and his husband who miss his home Bangladesh, and he returns back home, and but Nazanin said, no, this is fine for me, I'll settle here. So she settled in the UK. So how memory works at collective level, individual levels, and within family. Somebody is attracted to memory, somebody, so it plays an important role in the diaspora. So you can also relate psychology when you are reading memory in the diasporic space. Yeah, this will add a new important close understanding to your reading. Yeah, I hope my answer was.
Yes, yes. Thank you, sir. We are satisfied, sir. Thank you, sir. We truly appreciate the time and efforts you have taken to share your knowledge and experience with us today. Thank you, sir, once again, sir.
Thank you so much, madam. Yeah.
Yes. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Santosh Koti, sir, for a second session as a resource person and talk on the topic deconstruction of literary text. So I would like to call Dr. Bhakti Madam, HOD of Economics and IQAC Coordinator, to introduce sir. Sir, Madam, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce one of the most eminent resource person of this session, Dr. Santosh Koti. Dr. Santosh Koti's academic career is a remarkable journey characterized by exceptional achievements and deep commitment to the field of education. Born in Solapur, Dr. Koti's academic excellence became evident early on as he completed his graduation from Sangameshwara College, Solapur, and his post-graduation in English from Department of English, Shivaji University, Kolhapur. He not only excelled in studies but also stood first in the university examinations, grabbing the gold medal presented by the esteemed Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam sir. This recognition underscores his academic brilliance and sets the foundation for his future endeavors. Sir's professional journey began with qualification of both SET and NET, marking the beginning of his teaching career. He started as a lecturer in English at Bapulad College, Kundal district, Sangli, before moving on to become an associate professor in English in Walchand College of Arts and Science, Solapur. His passion for education and his early leadership qualities led him to serve as a principal of Hirachand Nemchand College of Commerce, Solapur, from March 2016 to September 2018, a position where he contributed significantly to the growth and development of the institution. Sir further expanded his academic qualification by pursuing postgraduation diploma in teaching of English from English and Foreign Language University, Hyderabad, which reflects his dedication to continually enhance his teaching expertise. His PhD research titled The Concept of Nativism in Indian and African Literary Criticisms was conducted under the auspices of Shivaji University, Kolhapur. During the doctoral studies, Dr. Koti sir had a unique opportunity to visit South Africa, where he presented a paper at the Golden Jubilee International Conference of the English Academy of Southern Africa at the Cape Peninsula University of Technology, Cape Town. This international exposure enriched the research and broadened his perspective on literary criticism. In addition to his doctoral work, Sir has been involved in several minor research projects, including topics such as concept of nativism and the Maharashtra government's policy to introduce English from the first standard in non-English medium schools, with a special focus on Solapur city. These projects funded by the University Grants Commission, that is UGC New Delhi, he made a significant contribution to educational policy and literary scholarships in India. Sir's academic contribution extended beyond research and teaching. He has been a resource person at several national and international conferences and refresher courses, sharing his insights on English literature, nativism, and educational policies. He has also collaborated with Dr. Ashok Babar to publish two significant books, two versions of nativism and Indian nativism, both of which add valuable perspectives to this disclosure on literary criticisms. Since September 2018, Sir has been serving as the principal of Walchand College of Arts and Science, Solapur, where he continues to make an impact on higher education in the region. His leadership is reflected in his active involvement in academic governance, as he is a member of the Senate and Management Council of Punyashlok Ahilya Devi Holkar Solapur University, Solapur, and the secretary of Maharshi Vitthal Ramji Shinde Pratishthan, Solapur. Furthermore, Sir's expertise and dedication have led him to be a member of assessment panel, that is NAC, where he has visited several colleges as a NAC peer team member, contributing to the accreditation process and the overall improvement of educational standards across the country. Sir's contribution in education, research, academic leadership are deeply respected, and his excessive experience in both teaching and administration continues to inspire countless students and colleagues. With this detailed introduction, I am honored to welcome you, sir, to today's webinar. We are eager to hear your valuable insights and learn from you vast knowledge and experience in the field of English with regard to English literature, education, nativism, and many more. Your participation in today's webinar is truly a privilege to all of us. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Honorable Principal, Dr. Tammanna, Head of the Department, Toldur sir, Prabhuling Gunjeti sir, Desai madam, Mahindrakar madam, my colleague who has made his scholarly presentation on diaspora studies, Dr. Sajauddin Chaparban sir, and dear all. Desai madam contacted me and asked to speak on a topic related to literary criticism. As my research was related to nativism, especially, and with reference to Indian literary criticism, but there was a need, and madam said that if I speak on deconstructive approach, it would be better. So I selected this particular topic. So my speech will be on Jacques Derrida's deconstructive approach to literary text. So I hope I have a time of approximately 1 hour.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, yes.
So during my speech, there is no presentation. It's an oral speech, or we can say lecture only. And I have divided my speech into certain points that introductory remarks about Derrida, his life and works, What is deconstruction or deconstructive theory? Key ideas of deconstruction. Example of deconstruction in action. Some common misconceptions about deconstructionism. Derrida's essay, a reference to Derrida's essay, Structure, Sign and Play in the Discourse of the Human Sciences. Core concepts of deconstruction and deconstruction in literature, that is application of theory to a particular text. So this, because of this, participants will be able to understand what exactly deconstruction is and how it can be applied to a particular text. If time allows, I can speak on deconstruction in other fields also, that is philosophy, law and politics, feminism, and in everyday life also, but that if time allows me to move ahead for this. Derrida, born in 1930, is a French philosopher. He was born to a Jewish couple in the suburb of French-ruled Algiers. He had 4 other siblings, 2 elder and 2 younger. He was the middle one, and none of whom pursued academics. Only Derrida, who was studied. So after an early education in Algiers, intermittently marred by incidents of anti-Semitism, being expelled from one school and pursued to leave another because he was a Jew, Derrida left for France in 1949 to complete his higher studies. To begin with, we can say he was at the Lycée Louis Le Grand in Paris. Thereafter, in 1952, despite trying and failing initially, he secured acceptance at the reputed École Normale Supérieure, which is referred as ENS, where many illustrious French intellectuals cut their academic teeth. So at ENS, Derrida not only met Louis Althusser, with whom he struck up a close friendship over the years, but also others like Jean Hippolyte and Michel Foucault. So he met these scholars also there in ENS. Okay. While Derrida's early philosophical training and work in France was largely focused on Edmund Husserl's and related phenomenological concerns, he was also influenced by, and we can say engaged with, the works of Rousseau, Sartre, Nietzsche, Heidegger, Saussure, Freud, Levi-Strauss, and many among others. So he submitted his deserts on Husserl for his Diploma d'études supérieures, that was equivalent of a master's degree in 1954. But he did not defend his doctoral thesis until 1980. Before that, he was subsequently into the teaching of soldiers' children in exchange for active military service during the Algerian War of Independence. And he held several academic positions at prestigious institutions, initially in France and later abroad, especially in the United States also. Okay, in Paris, after teaching at the Sorbonne between 1960 to 64, Derrida was invited to join the ENS again by Althusser and Hippolyte in 64, and he remained with ENS till 1983, and subsequently till his death he served as the director of studies at Écoles des Hautes Études and Sciences Sociales. In ENS he was there. So apart from these regular and visiting appointments, Derrida also lectured and toured extensively around the world, okay, with India too making it on its itinerary. So Derrida, he succumbed to pancreatic cancer in 2004, a little while after he was first diagnosed with the disease, and he in 2004 he left this world. Okay, his wife Margaret Acotier, she was a psychoanalyst, and 2 sons are there, Perry and Jean, who are survived. So Derrida, he is best known for developing deconstruction. Deconstruction, a method of analyzing texts, language, and meaning. His work challenged traditional ideas about truth, identity, and the stability of language. Derrida argued that meaning is always shifting and dependent on context, making it impossible to find a single fixed interpretation of any text. So, text doesn't have a single or fixed interpretation. Some of the major works which Derrida, or we can say his contribution of grammatology, published in 1967, where in this book he critiques structuralism and introduces deconstruction. His second book, Writing and Difference, that was also exploring how meaning is always deferred. Speech and Phenomena, this particular book is about critiquing Husserl's ideas on language and presence. So all these books, they form the basis of deconstruction. It is not a thing that he particularly advocated deconstruction or deconstructionism in a single book. The whole work, or we can say it's a gamut where we can find the theory which he has put forth, advocated, and practiced, or we can say implemented. Okay, of grammatology, this is Derrida's most famous book, where he challenges the idea that speech is more natural than writing. So Western philosophy, if we say from Plato, Rousseau, Saussure, this often privileged speech over writing, seeing speech as a closer to thought and meaning, where writing is far away from that reality or naturality. Derrida deconstructs this hierarchy, arguing that writing is just fundamental as speech because both rely on signs. Signs that refer to other signs, never to a fixed meaning. So he introduces difference, a term that means both difference and differential, to explain how meaning is always in flux. For example, the word tree only has meaning because it is different from words like bush or plant. It is never tied to some pure original concept of treeness. Okay, and that is why he says that it makes difference there. In the next book, Writing and Difference, this is collection of essays, and Derrida critiques structuralist thinkers like Levi-Strauss, showing how their theories contain contradictions. Levi-Strauss believed in universal structures underlying human culture. Derrida argues that no structure is stable because meaning is always shifting from one to the other. From person to person, from place to place, it changes. And what Strauss says, that universality of structure, okay, so he objects this. He demonstrates this by analyzing myths, showing how they undermine their own logic. Okay, so myths about creation often explain order coming from chaos. Okay, even this world or earth came into existence. That was a big bang, what we say. A chaos was there. But if chaos precedes order, then chaos itself must be structured. Okay, contradicting the myth's claim, he says he objects this. In Dissemination, published in 1973, this book explores how texts escape their intended meanings and take on new interpretations over time. Derrida, he focuses on how language is uncomfortable. An author cannot fully determine how their text will be read. It depends on the reader. He analyzes Plato's Phaedrus, where Plato criticizes writing for being unreliable compared to speech. But Derrida shows that Plato's own writing undermines this view. Plato's ideas survive only because they were written down. If they were not written, how the ideas would have been survived? Okay, so that thought itself has put into writing, and that is the main source of its existence. So think about how religious texts like Bible, Quran, or Gita are interpreted differently across time and cultures. So meaning is never fixed. It is disseminated in unpredictable ways. So it depends on time and space. Another book that was published in 1967, Speech and Phenomena, Derrida critically engages with the phenomenology of Edmund Husserl, particularly Husserl's views on language, presence, and meaning. So this book is often considered one of Derrida's most direct confrontations with the philosophical tradition of presence and representation. He was deeply engaged with philosophy, literature, psychoanalysis, politics, influencing fields from literary theory to law, and he applied deconstructionism everywhere. So deconstruction is a critical approach that questions and dismantles traditional assumptions about language, about its meaning, and textual interpretation. Deconstruction is a philosophical approach that challenges the idea of fixed meanings in language, text, and concepts. It is mainly associated with post-structuralism and modernism. So what are the key ideas of deconstructionism, or what Derrida has put in that? So a few things that we shall discuss here. Meaning is unstable and context dependent. This is totally opposite to the Western theory, where they say that meaning is we can say a fixed. A text conveys particular meaning. Okay, so we have different interpretations of Shakespeare's sonnets, but previously they were associated with a particular study only. So meaning is unstable and context dependent. Words and concepts don't have absolute meanings. They gain meaning through differences from other words. This is called difference, a mix of difference and differential. Okay, that we shall discuss later in the course of time. So since meaning is always shifting, no text has a single final interpretation. So meaning is not stable. Binary oppositions are problematic. Okay, so Western thoughts often relies on binary oppositions. Okay, for example, good, evil, male, female, speech, writing. So text was discussed with reference to these binary oppositions. Okay, so Derrida argues that these binaries are hierarchical. One is always privileged over the other and unstable. Now, deconstruction seeks to show how they depend on each other and can be reversed. Okay. Another thing that is discussed there, no pure or original meaning. Derrida questions the idea that texts or concepts have a single authoritative interpretation. Instead, he says meaning is produced through a network of relations and interpretations. So every time when you read a text in a different context, you will find a different meaning. So you need not rely on the meaning that you have come across previously and fix to that interpretation only. Okay, here we can say, see, we have actually three dimensions. But if you see any object, object is not a 3-dimension, object is always 6-dimension, because 4 sides, top side and bottom side, if you consider, all the objects have 6 dimensions, and you can see any object from these dimensions, and you at every point of time and every point of space, okay, where you have a spatial reference where you are standing. From that point of view, if you look at the object, you see that the perception is different, it looks different. Same is applied to the text also, because if you read the text and you try to understand, you will get a new meaning at new time. So text always undoes itself. Okay, so any attempt to find a stable meaning in a text reveals contradictions and ambiguities within the text itself. Deconstruction does not destroy meaning, but shows that meaning is always in flux. Okay, so if we see how this deconstruction in action is there, okay, if you take a philosophical text that assumes a speech is superior to writing, a common belief in Western philosophy that was there, deconstruction would show you how writing is actually necessary for defining speech. See, writing, if we say, think about what would have happened if we did not have writing, how literature would have been survived. See, our literature, or what we say orature is rich than literature, because over the period of time there is addition in orature. If you see the stories from Ramayana, stories from Mahabharata or from Bible, you will see that it is not written at a particular point of time. It went on, or the people who modified it went on adding into it. So continuous modification that was there. And if you read this text today, you will find the references of that, and you say that you will see that no, this is not the original one, but this modification was there, and it reflects into the text itself. So that is why writing is actually necessary for defining speech also. If you want to define the speech, for that also writing is necessary, because when we study phonology, we define a particular sound, okay, whether it is bilabial, labiodental, dental, alveolar, okay. So 3-term labels we use, and we define a sound, we define word, morpheme, then we come to the sentence. To study that, speech is to study that, writing is necessary. Writing now expose contradictions in the argument. For that, when you make argument and you say that it is, many times it happen, you say that I didn't mean that. You say something and you say I didn't mean that. Then what did it mean? For that, writing is necessary. It will show you that you have to, or you mean like this. A very good sentence has always been mentioned, or example has been given about where to put punctuation marks. Okay, roko mat jane do. Okay, now where we put this particularly punctuation mark shows how this particular sentence gives you two ambiguous meaning. Now when you say roko and then punctuation mark, mat jane do, stop, don't let him go. And if you say roko mat, punctuation mark, comma, jane do, so roko mat, comma, jane do, that means don't stop, let him go. Now stop, don't let him go, to don't stop, let him go, sentence is same. Now, if you say, I didn't mean that, here writing is necessary. So that suggests that speech itself behaves like writing because meaning is deferred even when spoken. Okay. Now, there are some common misconceptions about deconstruction also. What are these misconceptions? That deconstruction is not destruction. Okay, people say deconstruction, destruction. No. It does not simply tear things down. It reveals hidden complexities. It reveals complexities of meanings. It reveals different shades of meanings over the period of time and space. Now, why I say this over the period of time and space? We know Shakespeare's Hamlet. Now, Hamlet, where we know the story that Hamlet's uncle has killed his father, married his mother, and the other things that you know. And then his dilemma is there, to be or not to be, to kill the uncle or not to kill the uncle. He was not able to take the decision. Now, this play has been shown to a community in Africa. And these people, they were not able to understand why there is a dilemma in Hamlet about this. Why he thinks to kill his uncle. Now, why these people, they were thinking like that? Because the context changes the meaning. In that community, there was a rule that whosoever kills a person has to take the responsibility of the family, and he has to marry the wife of the deceased one. And according to that rule, if Hamlet's uncle had killed his father, by the rule of the community, he has to accept the responsibility. He has to marry Hamlet's mother. Now, what he did, the same thing. So for those people, Hamlet's dilemma was useless. And they did not find anything great in that. Why the playwright has put this dilemma there, and why the actor is so much in a dilemmatic condition and not able to take the decision. For them, it was totally out of their imagination because it was rule there. So it does not simply tear things down, but reveals hidden complexities. It is not total relativism. It is also said that deconstruction is not total relativism. It doesn't mean anything goes. Rather, it shows that meaning is more dynamic than we assume. Okay? Meaning is more dynamic. It always changes. The place changes, context changes, context of time and place changes, meaning changes. So it is not total relativism. It is not just about literature. So while often used in literary theory, we say Derrida's deconstructionism is related to literature or it is a literary theory. No, deconstruction applies to philosophy, it applies to law, it applies to politics, it applies to many other fields. So wherever you want to interpret a text, especially in laws, in law, you have to be specific about the meaning. But different shades of meaning can change the course of action also. So interpretation is more important here. Now we shall have a reference to Derrida's essay, Structure, Sign and Play in the Discourse of Human Sciences, where he has put his idea of deconstruction. He presented this paper at a symposium on structuralism at the Johns Hopkins University. And throughout the 90s, this essay remained an influential piece of writing in America. In this essay, Derrida takes a circle as a metaphor for structure, which defines its organization and shape in terms of its relation to center. Okay. So center is there, and because of center, the circle is there. So existence of circle depends on center. So according to Derrida, the whole history of the concept of structure must be thought of as a series of substitutions of center for center successively and in a regulated fashion. The center receives different forms or names. The history of metaphysics, like the history of the West, is the history of metaphors and metonymies. Its matrix is the, what he says, determination of being as presence in all the senses of this word. It would be possible to show that all the names related to the fundamentals, to principles, or to the center have always designated the constant of a presence. What Derrida believes? Derrida believes that a text does not have fixity of meaning. So center point and circle, no fixed relation is there. On the other hand, it has potentials for meaning, and it admits several interpretations. Okay, so certain, when we say several, certainly more than one. Okay, now what Derrida has called this, he calls this a free play of meaning. This is a free play of meaning, because you do not have one particular meaning, and text plays freely for meaning here. So Derrida borrows a set of binary distinctions from Saussurean linguistics, such as nature culture, raw cooked, to contest the claims of Western metaphysics. And a language, what Derrida says, is a system of science. And the relation between language and reality is taken as the relation between a set of signifiers and a corresponding set of signified. Okay, a signifier within language refers and corresponds to a signified outside a language, but the two signifier and signified are not the same. They are separated by a difference which the humanistic tradition tries to forget. For example, if we say God and the word God, God, okay, the concept God and the word we use God with the spelling God are different in that the word is an arbitrary set of sounds of signs which refers and differs to the concept which it signifies. Now the concept of deity, which is contained within the word God, but prior to the word itself, the concept was prior to the word itself, where we go back to Plato again, okay, imagination. So which here we can say the concept of deity in all the languages that existed prior to the word itself, and that is why in a sense it is independent of it. So it is not dependent on the word God. So that is different. Okay, what we have done here, we have put or used certain signs to put the concept into it. So Derrida in this essay, he contexts the claim of Western metaphysics with reference to speech and writing. So logos in Western metaphysics in the divine will or the word of God. So Derrida comments on the metaphysical background of the spoken word and the written word. He says God's understanding is the other name for logos or self-presence. The logos can be infinite and self-present. It can be produced as autoaffection only through voice, an order of the signifier by which the subject takes from itself to itself. Okay, so what we are doing, only through voice we are using order of the signifier. and it takes subject from itself to itself, and it does not borrow outside of itself the signifier that it emits, that affects it at the same time. So such is at least the experience of the voice. So we are just giving another representation to the signifier. Now, Derrida groups literature and other allied disciplines like psychology, philosophy, politics, linguistics under one head called human sciences. He has dissolved this distinction between philosophy in the wider sense, including the philosophy of language and literature and writing, because of the free play of differences and the use of tropes is always marked by deconstruction. Deconstruction implies that the writer himself unbuilds whatever he builds. Okay? Writer himself unbuilds whatever he builds, because various interpretations of meanings are there. If you have built a particular building, you can have a particular structure, but that structure will not change the perception of the people. But the text which the writer has created cannot have a fixity of meaning, and that is why what he builds, he has to, or he himself unbuilds it. So it views poetic structure as temporal, resulting free play of signifiers. So deconstruction attempts to demolish the myth of language by exposing the metaphysical foundation of our understanding of language. Okay. So Gayatri Spivak Chakravarti, she says that something that carries within itself the trace of perennial alterity, the structure of psyche, the structure of sign. So to this structure, Derrida gives the name writing. And further elaborating, she says that writing then is the name of the structure always already inhibited by the trace in the signifier itself. So this is a broader concept than the imperial concept of writing, and it denotes an imperial system of notion on material substance. So Derrida believes that literature is only a free play of signifier without a center. See, when center is there, circle is complete. Circle cannot be completed without a center. But when it is a free play, when the center is not fixed, where the center of meaning is not fixed one, circle cannot be completed. Means when you put a particular point there to draw a circle, circle will be completed. So one particular meaning with one particular dimension, you are looking at the point, and that activity will be completed. But when there is a free play, when the center point is not fixed one, the meaning will be different from different perspectives. So he argues that far from presenting any meaning, words carry with them a certain absence or interminency of meaning. Okay, absence or interminency of meaning. So that absence you have to find. That is the task of the reader, who has to identify. So that interminency of meaning is there, but that is the task of the reader. So it is not the fixed one. Everyone can have a different meaning of a text. So during the discussion of deconstructionism, Derrida has given some core concepts of deconstruction. That is one which I have discussed, that is difference. Okay, this is one of Derrida's most famous ideas, and it's a play on two meanings of the French verb differer, D-I-F-F-E-R-E-R. This is a French verb, differer. Now here he uses two different we can say verbs to define exactly what he means. To differ, D-I-F-F-E-R. So here it means words get meaning by being different from other word. Okay. And to differ, D-E-F-E-R, where meaning is never fully present. So differ, D-I-F-F-E-R, differ, that is words get meaning by being different from other words. Every word has its own meaning. And why this meaning is particular? Because it is different from other words. But he uses another verb to differ. Meaning is never fully present in any word. It is always delayed. For example, if you look up a word in dictionary, what happens? You try to find out a meaning or a definition, and each meaning or each definition leads to more words, which leads to more definitions or more meanings. Many times it happens. We go on searching dictionary or into the dictionary because actually we have started with one word, but to understand the meaning of that particular word, we have to read the definition, read the meaning. Again, we come across some ideas, some words where we have to refer the dictionary again. So you never reach a final fixed meaning. Multiplicity of meaning is there. Then he speaks about logocentrism. Derrida argues Western thought is built on logocentrism, the belief that there is a central ultimate truth, what the philosophies they call logos, that guarantees meaning. Philosophy, religion, science have often assumed a fixed center, that is God, reason, truth. Derrida argues that there is no stable center. Everything is part of an endless play of differences. Now think of how scientific theories evolve. What was once considered absolute truth, Newtonian physics, was later revised by Einstein's relativity. So there is no final fixed knowledge. Always there is a scope for modification. So what you say is like this only. It may change in the course of time. And science itself has proved it. Then you have trace. Meaning depends on what is absent as much as what is present. Because a word carries traces of all the meanings it is not. Traces carries the meaning, but it is not, which you cannot find initially. For example, if you read or if you utter the word light, light has meaning. It has meaning only because it is not dark. So the existence of light depends on trace of dark. It is not, dark is not there. Why we say light? Because darkness is not there. So, but the idea of darkness is always lurking in the background as a trace there. The trace of darkness is always there when you utter the word light. Okay. So when we analysis or when we make analysis of particular words, we make plus minus. So plus male, why female? That is minus male. Or a table, minus chair, we say. Why? We go on analyzing the words like this, giving characteristics of other words into whether it is plus or minus, we make analysis. So the traces are always there. We utter the word and the trace is always there. So a word carries traces of all the meanings it is not. Then is aporia. Aporia is a moment of logical impossibility or contradiction. Derrida shows how texts and arguments contain contradictions that cannot be resolved. For example, see the paradox of this statement is false. Now, when we say this statement is false, if it is true, it must be false. And if it is false, it must be true. Now, this kind of self-undermining logic is what Derrida finds in many philosophical texts. Now, from the point of view of aporia, we have to examine all our mythological texts. See, I'll give you one example. Many of we know the story of Hiranyakashipu. Okay, yesterday, day before yesterday was Holi there. Okay, in Holi, Holika Dahan was there. Prahlad was there. Now, in that story, you find that Prahlad's uncle, his father was Hiranyakashipu and his uncle was Hiranyaksha. And it was said that Hiranyaksha has stolen the earth. Now, where these people they were living? Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad, where were they living? Were they living on other planet? Okay, leave it. Now, the story is they have Hiranyaksha had stolen the earth and he had say put it into or hidden it into a sea, under the sea, at the bottom of the sea. Now, a logical question is where the sea is, or is it related to other planets also? Okay, taken Earth from the orbit away or out of the orbit and taken it to some other planet bigger than the Earth, where the big sea might be there, and he might have hidden that Earth, put that Earth there. What happened or would have happened to the life on the Earth then? Okay, that was under. So multiple questions will be raised in this. So from point of aporia, we have to re-examine all the mythological texts, not only in Hindu religion, in all the religions, in Bible also, you see. So the great, you see, Noah's ship, okay, and that also you can see or examine again. Okay, now let us break down with examples from literature. Okay, if time permits, we'll go to philosophy and other fields also, but see how deconstruction works in practice, especially deconstruction in literature. Now, deconstruction often examines how a text contradicts itself or challenges its own assumptions. For example, Shakespeare's Hamlet. So at first glance, if you say Hamlet is a revenge tragedy and Hamlet must avenge his father's murder. But deconstruction complicates this reading. So Hamlet constantly delays his revenge. Why? Is he a hero or a coward? That question that is there. The play questions the nature of reality. That is the ghost real? Hamlet's famous line, to be or not to be, deconstructs itself. If existence itself is uncertain, how can we even frame a question about it? The protagonist of this play, he himself asks, to be or not to be? That is the question. To be itself is the existence. To live or not to live. If existence is uncertain, how can we even frame a question about this? So a deconstructive reading shows that Hamlet is not a simple revenge play, but a text that questions its own premises, making meaning unstable. Okay. Now, see, if we want to apply this theory of deconstruction, now there are certain ways to apply this theory to any text. Okay, how can we apply this? So questioning on binary oppositions. Okay, Derrida argues that Western thought is structured around binary oppositions. For example, presence, absence, speech, writing, male, female, reason, emotion. So in literature, deconstruction examines how these oppositions function and show that the privileged term, that is speech over writing, is not inherently superior, but it is culturally constructed. For example, in Shakespeare's Othello, the opposition between civilization, Venice, and barbarism, Othello as an outsider, can be deconstructed to show that Othello embodies both civilization and so-called barbarism, disrupting the binary. So Derrida argues that meaning in Western civilization is structured around binary opposition. So if we see Othello or try to understand Othello with these binary oppositions, we can see that Othello presents several binaries, but deconstruction reveals their instability. For example, in Othello, we see civilization versus barbarism. Othello is framed as a noble Moor of Venice, suggesting he embodies both civilization and supposed barbarism. His eloquence and military success align him with Venetian values, yet his race and passionate nature mark him as an outsider. The idea that Othello is either civilized or barbaric collapses. He is both and neither. Another opposition that you find there, honesty versus deception. Iago. Iago is repeatedly referred to as honest Iago. Yet he is the play's most, or we can say greatest deceiver. The very label honest becomes ironic and meaningless here. Othello, who seeks truth and justice, is ultimately deceived by Iago, suggesting that honesty is not a stable trait, but a matter of perception only. How you look at it, that is important. Even to a dishonest or deceiver, you look as honest one. Then again, there is a binary opposition of speech versus writing or presence versus absence. In traditional Western philosophy, spoken word is privileged, more authentic than writing. Iago manipulates meaning by relying on suggestion, insinuation, and interpretation rather than direct speech. He leads to interpret he leads Othello to interpret Desdemona's handkerchief as proof of identity, demonstrating how interpretation, not truth, determines reality. So the reader, they know exactly what the reality is, but for Othello, the interpretation of handkerchief is different. The spoken word becomes just as deceptive as writing. So language itself is unstable here. Okay. Another feature, we say difference or unstable meaning. Derrida's concept difference suggests that meaning is never fixed, but constantly differed. Okay. A literary text, therefore, does not have a single unified meaning, but generates multiple, sometimes contradictory interpretations. Even in Emily Dickinson's poetry, words and images often shift in meaning, creating ambiguity that resists singular interpretation. Okay. It happens with almost all the poetic works, because the persons who think his interpretation is always different. So this instability of meaning is also there that we find in Othello. So Othello demands he demands ocular proof of Desdemona's infidelity, believing that seeing is believing. However, what he sees, that is the handkerchief, is only a sign, not a proof. The handkerchief's meaning shifts. To Othello, it symbolizes fidelity and later betrayal. To Desdemona, it is simply a token of love. To Emilia, it is a trivial object. To Iago, it is a tool for manipulation. So the handkerchief, like language itself, does not have a fixed meaning. It only means what each character believes it to mean. Okay. Next, we have undermining authorial intent or textual play. Traditional literary criticism, it often seeks to uncover an author's intended meaning, but deconstruction challenges this notion. The text exists independently of the author's control, as language itself is unstable. In James Joyce's Ulysses, if you see, the fragmented narrative and linguistic experimentation, it prevents a stable meaning. It encourages endless interpretation. Okay. Now, in relation to Othello, traditional reading of Othello focuses on Shakespeare's intended themes: jealousy, race, manipulation. But deconstruction challenges the idea that the text has a singular authoritative meaning. If we deconstruct Othello, it becomes impossible to say whether the play condemns or reinforces racial stereotypes. Othello is portrayed as a noble and dignified, but also as irrational and violent. By the end of the play, he fulfills the stereotype of the dangerous outsider. But this transformation is the result of Venetian society's manipulation. The play both critiques and upholds racist structures, making it stance unstable. Iago's motives are never clearly defined. Does he hate Othello because of jealousy, because of ambition, because of racism, or for no reason at all? Now, the absence of clear motivation destabilizes traditional interpretation. Now, Iago becomes a representation of meaninglessness itself, reflecting the idea that texts do not contain fixed messages but produces endless interpretations. Okay. So here, somewhere that has been struck into the mind of the Othello. The girl who had cheated his father will definitely cheat her husband also. Somewhere that goes into the mind, and the whole tragedy moves around it. So intertextuality and the absence of a fixed center, that is also there. Now, texts are interconnected and shaped by other texts, meaning there is no fixed center of meaning or origin. Literature is a web of influences, what we can say, web of references, web of reinterpretations. T.S. Eliot's Wasteland draws multiple literary and cultural sources, making its meaning fluid and dependent on its intertextuality or intertextual network. Okay? Reading against the grain, if we say. Okay? Now, deconstruction encourages a close reading that looks for contradictions, looks for paradoxes, and the gaps in a text. It reveals how text may undermine their own apparent messages. In Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, now this novel critiques colonialism, but its own language and the structure reinforce some of the same imperialist ideologies it seeks to challenge. If you read Heart of Darkness, instead of it is a comment on colonialism, somewhere you say that it is at the side of colonialism, or it is imposing colonialism. Now, Othello, if we read against the grain, okay, so deconstruction exposes how Othello contradicts itself, particularly regarding identity. Othello begins as the confident, valiant Othello, fully integrated into Venetian society. But through Iago's manipulation, he internalizes the racist stereotypes that Venice projects onto him. He speaks from speaking in measured poetic verse to chaotic prose, signaling a breakdown in identity and meaning. By the end, he calls himself a cursed slave and aligns himself with a monstrous imagery, mirroring the way others perceive him. So what is there? The perception of the character in the mind of other people, Othello projects it at the end. But this projection is not his. Somebody manipulates it. So deconstructive paradox, what we find here. If Othello was truly an outsider, why was he initially so respected? And if he was truly a respected Venetian, why was it so easy for society to turn against him? So his identity is not fixed. It is shaped by the unstable perception of those around him. So a deconstructive reading of Othello shows that the play resists stable meaning. The binary oppositions, honest, deceptive, civilized, barbaric, collapse into ambiguity. Meaning is not fixed here. Signs like the handkerchief shift endlessly. Othello's identity is constructed by those around him rather than being inherent in him itself. Now the play simultaneously critiques and reinforces problematic racial and social structures. So ultimately, we can say Othello exemplifies Derrida's belief that language never provides absolute truth, but only endless interpretations. So rather than offering a single moral or message, the play undoes itself, revealing the instability of meaning, identity, and truth. Okay, shall I take 5 to 10 minutes more to just speak on deconstruction in philosophy, law, feminism, and everyday life? Yes. Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Shall I?
Yes, sir.
Because
Sir,
it is one.
Yeah. Sir, we have questions also, sir.
Okay. Okay. Then we shall stop here and we'll go to question and answer. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for your insights and inspiring address. Sir, we have the questions. What are some common misconceptions about deconstruction in literary studies, sir?
Okay. Okay. Common misconceptions that we have discussed. See, deconstruction is destruction. Okay. It is already said. Okay. So destruction, see, commonly it is said that deconstruction means destruction. It is not simply destructing the text. It is not destructing the text. Not tearing things down, but revealing the hidden complexities. People say that deconstruction means destructing the text because you are trying to find out the meaning what is not there. It is not there. No, the thing is not there. It is there. It is hidden there. What the deconstruction is trying, it is trying to find out which is hidden there. It is not total relativism. It anything goes, rather than it shows that meaning is more dynamic than we assume. Meaning is what we say, meaning always changes. Dynamism or dynamicity of meaning, when we say, when it is not fixed one. And when we say, sometimes it is said that deconstruction is related to literature only. Deconstruction is not there in philosophy or in other field, but deconstruction is there in philosophy. It is there in law. It is there in feminism also, because in feminism we have binary opposition, male and female. Actually, it is not there. Somewhere you have to bring them on the same platform and find out their misconception, what are there in the mind. So it is there. And in everyday life also, deconstruction applies. We cannot say that deconstruction is not there in everyday life. Okay, in everyday life, traditional views often present male female as binary. So gender is performative and constructed. So deconstruction reveals it. Gender is performative and constructed. Why it is performative? Because traditionally we have assigned certain tasks to male only, but now we can say that female, they are also very successfully they can perform these tasks. So the categories of male and female depend on each other, and their definitions shift over time. So this destabilizes the binary. So these are some misconceptions about deconstruction.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, one more question, sir.
Yes, please.
Can deconstruction be applied to all literary text, or is it more effective for certain genres?
No, it can be applied to any text, irrespective of time and place. You cannot say that this theory cannot be applied to a religious text, okay, or it cannot be applied to a modern text, because when you utter a sentence has multiplicity of meaning. Where you can draw multiple meanings, you can apply the theory. So you cannot say that this theory be applied to only certain texts. No, it can be applied to all the texts all the time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your insightful and inspiring address. We truly appreciate the time and efforts you have taken to share your knowledge and experience with us. Now, I would like to request Principal of our college, Dr. Y. Tamanna sir, to present the presidential remark. Over to you, sir. Sir, please.
Before that, I'll just thank all the dignitaries, Desai Madam, Tamanna sir, that you have given me the opportunity to share my views on this platform. Even Chaparban sir, because I am able to learn more about diasporic literature from him. So a new friend has given new insight to me about the topic. Thank you all. Tamanna sir, I many time I make study of Kannada names. Okay, so your name reminded me something. Okay, in my childhood we have a neighbor. His name, their surname had Tammannavaru. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, this name. Yeah.
Kannada surname might be there. So I usually make study of the name Huli Mani, Muli Mani, Devar Mani. Yes. Okay, Mani, that is okay. So the God's house, Muli Mani, corner house. Okay, Huli Mani, the tiger's house. So
many more Manis are
brother. Okay. Tamma means our brother. Okay, Tamanna. So
yes.
So that reminded me. Thank you for calling me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone present here. Under IQAC initiative, the Department of English, in collaboration with the Alumni Association of our college, organized one-day national webinar on critical approaches to the literary text. Distinguished keynote speaker, Dr. Sajauddin Chapparban Sarji, Assistant Professor, the Center for Diaspora Studies, Central University of Gujarat, Vadodara. Most respected resource person, Dr. Santosh Koti Sarji, Principal, Walchand College of Arts and Science College, Sholapur. And my best friend, Professor P.S. Tolnur sir, Head of the Department of English, and Dr. Bhakti Mahendrakar, IQAC Coordinator, Professor Husna Desai, Co-Convener, Organizing Secretary Professor Problem Zinjati, Professor Taushif Ahmad Bhagwan, and Technical Assistant Professor Suleiman, my colleagues, research scholars, and delegates from the different parts of this nation. It's my great honor to stand before you today as we are near to the conclusion of this enlightening and thought-provoking national webinar over the past sessions. We have engaged in meaningful discussions, explored new perspectives, and deepened our understanding of critical approaches to the literary text. At the heart of this intellectual exchange are our distinguished resource persons whose insights, expertise, and dedication have greatly enriched our discussions. So now, let me to express my heartfelt appreciation to them. At the very outset, I deem it's my pleasure to extend my warm and cheerful thanks to Dr. Sajauddin Chapparban, Assistant Professor, the Center for Diaspora Studies, the University of Gujarat, Vadodara. Just I would like to highlight a few points from your speech, sir. Firstly, in a world, the boundaries of knowledge and interpretation are constantly evolving. Our understanding of our literature and its critical frameworks has become more pertinent than ever. The text in all its forms, be it fiction, non-fiction, poetry, or drama, holds a mirror to the complexities of human experiences. And secondly, throughout the webinar, we have explored a wide range of critical approaches from structuralism and post-structuralism to feminist, post-colonial, and psychoanalytical readings. These frameworks have allowed us to see text not just as isolated work, but as powerful reflection of the complex. So your keynote address on diasporic approaches to the literary text has provided us with valuable knowledge and fresh perspectives. Your in-depth analysis and practical exams have already have broadened our understanding and inspired us to explore new solutions. And secondly, Dr. Santosh Koti, sir, presented his views on critical approaches to the text. In this broader concept, he delivered a talk on deconstruction approaches to the literary text. Your expertise has truly been enlightening. Your ability to simplify complex concepts and engage our audience has made a lasting impact, equipping with knowledge and that will shape our endeavors. So, on behalf of BLD Association, Srimati Bangaram Sajjan, Arts, Commerce and Science College for Women, I extend my deepest gratitude to our resource persons for their valuable contributions. Your dedication to this knowledge sharing and professional development is commendable, and we are privileged to have you, sir. And I would like to thank our organizers, Professor Tolnur sir, Husna Desai, Suleiman, and Tausif Ahmad Bhagwan for their tireless efforts in putting this event together. Your hard work has not gone unnoticed. To our participants, thank you for your active engagement, insightful questions, and commitment to learning. Let us take the knowledge we have gained and apply it to our perspective fields, ensuring that the impact of this event, our webinar, extends beyond these walls. With that, I officially conclude this webinar, and I look forward more opportunities for collaboration and shared learning in the future. And I also expect the similar cooperation in the days to come. So thank you, and we continue to strive for excellence and innovations. So with these very few words, I conclude my presidential remarks. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir, for your presidential remark. Now there is a time, last but not least, vote of thanks. Professor Tausif Ahmad Bhagwan proposes vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Thank you, madam. Good afternoon, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to all those who have contributed to the success of today's one-day national webinar on critical approaches to the literary text. First and foremost, on behalf of our institution, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. Shujauddin Nijamuddin sir from the Center for Diaspora Studies at the Central University of Gujarat, Kundela, Vadodara, India. His insightful session on the diasporic approach to the literary text was both enlightening and thought-provoking. We deeply appreciate the time and effort he dedicated to sharing his knowledge with us today. So thank you, sir. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to our resource person, Dr. Santosh Koti sir, Principal of Walchand College of Arts and Science, Solapur, Maharashtra, for his engaging presentation on the deconstructive approach to the literary text. His expertise on the subject has undoubtedly broadened our understanding. Thank you, sir. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our beloved principal, sir, Dr. Y. Tamanna, for his constant support and encouragement, which has been instrumental our organizing this event. So thank you, sir. Our special thanks to Sri P.S. Tolnur, sir, Head of the Department of English and convener of this webinar, for his guidance and efforts in ensuring that this webinar was a grand success. Thank you, sir. I also grateful to Shri Prabhuling Gunjeti, the organizing secretary, for his valuable contributions to the organization of this event. Thank you, sir. A big thanks to Shrimati H.S. Desai, the co-convener, for her tireless work in the managing all the arrangements smoothly, ensuring everything ran efficiently. Thank you, madam. We are also thankful to Dr. Bhakti Mahindrakar, IQOC coordinator, for her continuous efforts in promoting academic excellence and for being a strong pillar of the support in this endeavor. Thank you, madam. My special thanks to Professor S.M. Atirkia, Department of Economics, whose technical support ensuring everything ran efficiently. So thank you, sir. Last but not least, a warm thanks to all our participants, academicians, research scholars, dear students and parents for your enthusiastic involvement and for the making this event a resounding success. Once again, thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Sir Chapandan sir, very nice meeting. Thank you so much for your cooperation.
Indeed honor for me. Yeah, thank you so much, Tamanna sir.
Thank you, sir.
Be in touch.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Shujauddin sir.
Thank you.
Sharing a valuable time with us, sir. It was a wonderful webinar.
Thank you, sir, and Sajauddin sir. We are planning to conduct a seminar shortly, so definitely we will invite you. Your presentation really I enjoyed a lot.
Thank you so much, sir. I'll be indeed honored to be there. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the session of Dr. Koti sir also. Thank you. Thank you, madam, for the invitation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Chaparban
you.
sir.
Thank you for your
You will
from our
see.
department.
Please share your contact
Thank you.
number. Madam,
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, I will
Chapar-
give the
share me
yes,
number
yes.
of Chaparban sir.
Chaparban,
I
sir.
am
Yes, sir. Both
basically
of
from
them I
Udgir,
will.
sir, Latur area.
Latur area.
Yeah, I am from Udgir, sir, and
Udgir. Very nice.
yeah.
So diaspora again.
Really?
So I love
Great.
to interact with you, sir. Of course, ma'am will
Yes.
put in touch with us. So
Yes,
Yes, yes.
we'll have a
Surely, sir.
discussion.
Surely, sir.
Because I have
Yes,
many relatives at Latur and Udgir also.
Very good. Yeah, I know. Solapur is quite near. Often, whenever we travel from Vadodara, we get down at Solapur because that's a major junction for us. From there,
Yes.
we move to Latur.
Yes. Great.
Nice meeting,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Very
Nice to
nice.
meet you.
Meeting you, sir.
Thank you.
Tamanna sir, Madam, Koti sir, and
Yes.
Thank
Tornu
you.
sir, everybody, thank you so much for
Okay,
the
sir. Thank
invitation.
you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you very much, sir, for your
Thank you all for giving us
it was
the
a wonderful,
opportunity
sir,
to be here
experience,
with
sir.
you. Yeah. Thank you. Good day. Bye.
actually it is
Shall I
very
go?
Have a
wonderful
good day.
session, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.